Wynona Redmond, president and founder of Wyn-Win Communications, talks to host Doug Simon on PR's Top Pros Talk.
Wynonna, I thought we'd start by having you give sort of a quick overview of your role. You're very involved and engaged in the political system, but not the campaign part of it. Can you explain?
Sure. Well, Wyn-Win Communications, we have several different areas that we specialize in, but I think most folks come to me and to our company for stakeholder engagement. And we work with the whole stakeholder wheel. Government and elected officials are a big part of our network. We don't do political campaigns. We work with the government. We work with elected officials as one of our key stakeholder pools. We work with policymakers. We work with issues. So we are very, very much involved with all levels of government. We don't run campaigns, but we work with policymakers, and we certainly understand all of the dynamics going on right now today.
Yeah, and there's so much about maintaining trust with all the contacts that you work with when it's such a high pressurized area. How do you go about maintaining that trust?
I always say define public relations as people and relationships, power and resources. You cannot lose your reputation if you don't have relationships where you're trusted. And that is one of the biggest values we have. We say that our network is our net worth. With elected officials in particular, I've got generations of time working with them, but they do trust me. The Reverend Jesse Jackson told someone when they were interviewing him and they asked him about me, and he said, "We trust Wynonna. We know that anyone that she brings to us, she's vetted. She wouldn't bring us anyone that we cannot trust in working with." So to establish trust, to do your homework, and to really understand that the sources we work with, that they are trustworthy. We all can have different perspectives. We can all have different sides to represent, but to have real transparency, real truth, and to be able to objectively address issues, even when you're on different sides, that line of communication cannot be compromised.
Yeah, and you talk about transparency and openness. I will say people in political power are not always the most well known for being open and transparent. So, how do you go about making that happen and enabling them to keep trust with all these key communities that you work with on their behalf?
I believe the elected officials and the government offices that we work with, the budgets are budgets, and there are decisions that have to be made. And you hope that you can make the best case, that you can make sure that there are priorities made. At the end of the day, Wyn-Win Communications hopes that both sides can win, that there are some common grounds, that there are some meeting places where it can be decisions made at the end of the day that are doable, livable, acceptable, where everyone wins somewhere.
Yeah, and you mentioned that your net worth is your network. And obviously, when both of us were starting, it was about going to events, being out there, meeting people. Now that's changed. I mean, there's LinkedIn. What do you see as some of the best ways for professionals to be building their network?
I think that LinkedIn actually has better forums. When you look at the connections, when you look at the groups, Facebook, TikTok, all of these other things, they're there. But I think that there is some great value to LinkedIn and the connections that are made there, the conversations. I like LinkedIn. I like the good old-fashioned relationships. We have a global business landscape. You have to understand what is the weather doing for them, what is
Right.
to be ready to talk about them as individuals and not just get into business, business, business. We have a landscape of people. and before the relationships. The beauty of technology right now is we have LinkedIn, we have Zoom, but there's both sides of the spectrum where we can be virtual and reach global markets through Zoom, through different technologies. But there is always the value of the face to face in person, and there is the value of being able to cross the continents via technology, via Zoom. There is great connections via LinkedIn and the conversations and the connections. So we're blessed in this day and age to be able to have the benefit of so many ways to communicate.
Another part of your business that's important is connecting people in the communities to corporations on different causes and issues. Any guidance on where to start? I guess you have an advantage with the relationships you've built up. It would seem they would be even more important for this type of work.
That's the fun part of my business. We do stakeholder engagement. We do a lot of corporate social responsibility. We do a lot of strategic communications. But the fun part for me is like putting the puzzle pieces together. And we love being that connector. We love understanding. I really do know a lot of the priorities, the passions of our clients, and to be able to connect the right people to the right companies and the right causes. It really means that you have to know the people. You have to know the businesses. There are different companies that have different priorities. And when you can connect the cause, be it healthcare, be it diversity, be it, that, we're doing a lot in healthcare, and that whole piece on, when is there going to be a cure for cancer? We're doing a lot on the life and death gaps from community to community. But when we understand someone may be passionate about training the next generation in technology, when we understand that all of these AIs, and when we understand whatever the cause is, to be able to connect the companies to the right community and making sure that they have an opportunity to win together. We do a lot of faith-based engagements. Churches are really advancing. They have health ministries. They have helped save lives. At the end of the day, the power of communication is that old model. You have a messenger, you have a message to go across mediums, and you have an audience that you want to reach. That is the fun part of engagement. So churches are great places. We just had a conversation about barbershops and beauty salons as a place to reach audiences, to talk to them about life-saving screenings. We're doing something with healthcare right now after COVID. Black women in particular have not been getting their screenings, and they are being
Mm.
diagnosed with more aggressive cancers. And so the power of communication really is life and death, even when it's time to get out to vote, and making sure people are not apathetic. There were a lot of young voters saying they weren't going to vote for either Biden or Trump, but now they see some engagement. So that whole get out the vote and moving folks to action, it is important.
Yeah, and it's obvious that you have a passion that shines through. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
I am a big fan of the whole stakeholder engagement wheel, and just making sure that people connect the cause to the outcomes needed. And there is nothing more powerful than people and relationships and connecting them to the power and resources. And when you can keep it very simple, when you keep it very simple and you know that you're not just making connections, but it's because of causes that are worthwhile. And it's because I care. And I believe that if we connect causes and if we really care about the work, that we can win. We can really have good outcomes. But it really goes back to really doing our work and doing our work with integrity, with transparency. And I think that at the end of the day, we're more alike than we are different, but we've got to connect and understand.
That makes a tremendous amount of sense. Thanks so much for sharing your ideas, thoughts, and insights.
We've got an interesting time ahead of us, but I really believe we can win together.